What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. I'm Derek Larger. My buddy Lawrence Owen, Mr. Colts Law himself, is here joining me today. And today we're going to talk about some of the questions that were answered and unanswered coming into the 2021 season. The 2021 season's over. We have had some time to think about everything that's been going on. And now we can kind of look back on some of these and try to see if these were answered or if they weren't or if they were somewhere in between. So we'll start with this one first. And I think Lawrence might have a different answer to this than me. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But we'll talk about the Colts quarterback situation. So we're talking about Carson Wentz here. Coming into 2021, everyone was wondering, how is Carson Wentz going to pan out? Is he going to be the quarterback of the future for this team? Is he going to show something to prove that he can be? Lawrence, what's your opinion on that? Was that situation answered or was it unanswered as of now?
As of now, it's unanswered. I like a lot of what I saw from Carson Wentz this season, but there's also a ton of improvement that needs to be made. And quite frankly, this is a situation where we was hoping that we would have a definite answer by the end of the year. But the way the season progressed, obviously the last couple games of the year puts on a huge, a big stain, and it's going to be very difficult to get rid of that stain on the thought process of Carson Wentz. But right now it's unanswered. And I've been of the opinion that you don't give up on somebody after 1 year. Anyhow, always go 2 years because the first year inside of a system with new people and everything don't always pan out the way you are hoping or expecting. But what happens from here on out, I don't know. I honestly, I have no idea. I am just as much kind of waiting and looking forward to what Irsay, Ballard, Reich will make on the decision for that for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The unanswered part of this is just due to the fact that you're right. I mean, Reich, Ballard, and Irsay are all not coming out saying Wentz is definitively 100% going to be our quarterback of the future. And that's the one thing that you needed to hear in order for that to be answered. We just don't know if that's going to be the case or not. You saw some good things from Wentz early in the season. Then at the end of the season, that gave you a little bit of doubt. So, yeah, as of this moment, it stinks to say it, but that is an unanswered question at this moment. But now we'll move into something here that I think you and I will both agree on. We looked at this 2020 draft class, and we asked ourselves what Pittman and Taylor could bring to this team. We all saw Pittman has the ability to make great plays. Taylor was showing at the end of the season just how good of a player he can be, and we saw what they did this season. And so do you believe that the question was answered or unanswered on Pittman and Taylor taking those next step to be great players?
Well, I mean, it's Jonathan Taylor was in the MVP conversation for 2021. So that's a big fat yes.
Yes.
For Taylor anyhow, without any question at all. Pittman to me is a yes. Did he have mistakes? Yes. He has some drop balls. Yes. But he also pulled some really good plays out of nowhere. Plays that you could, think of where he just mosses a dude, right there at the end zone and gets into the end zone. That was a massive play. But the drops make me a little bit worried. I have seen quite a few of those from him this season, especially drops in places where he's supposedly where he wants to, the up high ball, right? And you see the ball go right, like the Jacksonville game was a prime example where it's right through his hands, darn near interception because of it. He's got to, lock that down. But, it was only a second year. So I have to agree that, yes, Pittman, ended up exceeding. I wouldn't say he exceeded my expectations. That's about where I thought Pittman would be personally. at this point in his career. And I believe that he can be that and has become that X receiver for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I mean, this one is pretty chalked up. I mean, what Jonathan Taylor did from year one to year two is just absolutely sensational, unlike what a lot of running backs we've seen before. And I mean, Michael Pittman, yeah, I think he improved on some things that made him a definitive, like we can understand at this point, he is going to be a guy going forward that we're going to need to get involved. And that's what you needed to see. Because, Phillip Rivers didn't really get him involved that much early in the season, tried to at the end. It really just didn't work out a lot of times. But you saw him and Wentz, especially early and middle of the season, those two had a very special connection. So it was good to see Pittman start to get there. All right, let's go to the next one here. And that was talking about the depth on the offense, especially on that offensive line. We asked a lot about, Ballard always talks about adding a lot of good guys, especially on the offensive line when you're talking about, and we saw this year that depth came into very big handy when obviously the Colts got hit with the COVID bug and then guys kept getting injured. Unfortunately, the majority of those came from our offensive line. So was the question answered or unanswered on Ballard's ability to address the depth on the offensive line this year, Lawrence?
The beginning of the year, if you'd have asked me week 3, I would have said no. But as the season progressed and they started to understand who played where and how and what they were good at, and were able to put certain players in the positions of where they could succeed the most, I would say yes. Depth-wise, now I'm not going about all the 5 starters, but depth, I think, is very, very good for the Indianapolis Colts on the offensive line. I think your backups at each position, I especially at the guard and center positions, are phenomenal. I think are where you don't have to worry about that pressure coming up the middle, or the power blocking in the run game. It doesn't matter if we're starting out with Quentin Nelson out there, or if you're out there with Will Fries, the very bottom of the barrel that we have right now on the guard position. I think we have seen that you're comfortable if someone goes down and needs to be, replaced by somebody, even, like I said, the third string, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it all off season. You can't expect all these guys to maintain healthy balances through the entire season. And thank God that Ballard did not go through with that the second time around. I mean, you're right. In that Cardinals game, we were scraping the bottom of the barrel. Will Fries, the 7th round draft pick out of Penn State, coming in and having to be the savior at guard position because we went down Chris Reed and Quentin Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was great to see the depth on this offensive line because you're right. Like at times it fared very well. Danny Pinter had to step in for Ryan Kelly in his absence for multiple weeks. And, he played very, very well. Chris Reed, at times it almost felt like you forgot that Mark Lewinsky or Quentin Nelson was even in there at times because Chris Reed was playing exceptionally well. And then you had, Will Fries coming in that Cardinals game, first start, stepped up, did what he had to do. Matt Pryor, who, at the beginning of the year was a little slow to get started on that right tackle spot because that's not something he's primarily great at. But, the middle of the season, when he started getting comfortable in that spot, him and Glow really did a fantastic job. Hell, I'll even go with the hot take and say that right side of the offensive line midway through the season was actually a lot better than the left side of the offensive line with Fisher and Nelson. I'm going to say right now, they were better at pass blocking than the left side of the offensive line by a long shot. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think run blocking, you still went left side.
Yeah.
But pass blocking was stronger on the right.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's great that in one off season you acquired 2 guys that, really could be almost starting caliber guys almost anywhere. And then you drafted a kid that ended up having to play some time, and you drafted one in 2020, which you now feel comfortable with putting in there in a situation where, you have to replace them. They talked a lot about Danny Pinter when they drafted him, said they were actually debating bringing him in the 4th round because they were afraid of not getting him sooner. I mean, and I'll throw this question out to you right now. I'm sure I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but I kind of feel like I have to. With the depth of this offensive line, from what you've seen, because we got guys that, you feel comfortable in bringing in, does it make you feel more comfortable if the Colts decided they wanted to trade one of these starting 5 that they have right now in a deal, and you felt that they were comfortable with saying, if we traded one of them, we feel confident in the guys behind them could step in and give us very close to the same production? Do you think that's an option, or are you saying that or do you think the Colts are keeping that front 5 intact no matter what happens?
No, it depends upon which of the front 5 you're talking about. I would not trade Kelly or Big Q for anything. In all honesty, those 2 guys are phenomenal as a pair. As a pair, they are the best 1-2 left guard center combination in the NFL, period, in the discussion. Okay, well, the way they work off of each other and come off double team blocks to hit the block in the second level, and it's whether or not it's Nelson going or Kelly going, that's absolutely a phenomenal, beautiful thing to watch when you're looking at the all 22 tape.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys, I like Braden Smith, but I am on the page of, if Pryor has to come in there and start, okay. I doubt it. He just got that extension. Glowinski, love Glowinski. Glowinski was one of the most steadfast offensive linemen that was there all year and played very, very well.
Yes.
Better than he did last year.
Yes.
By a long shot. But at the same time, I like our backups at guard. If we needed to move on from him, I wouldn't feel too bad about that. And Eric Fisher, if we need to get rid of him, then that's fine. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, it's just what you do at the left tackle spot from this point on. I have no idea what they're going to do at that spot. I really have no idea. But yeah, I mean, and that's the one thing outside of Pryor that, Ballard might have to address more of is the tackle spot, because I'll be honest, my eyes cannot stand Sam Tevy or Julian Davenport on that left side of the offensive line anymore. You
might as well put a traffic cone in their place.
Why is there at left tackle? He used to do that at Penn State. I'm at this point where I'm just saying, let the rookie go out and do something. It can't be any worse than what Davenport has looked like. Come on. Hell, you know what? He can't even be any worse at pass blocking than Eric Fisher was late in the season. Eric Fisher was god awful at pass blocking this year.
Yeah, but Tevy was not very good in the run blocking. Tevy was just bad all the way.
Tevy was bad altogether, bro. He was getting beat by second and third stringers in the preseason, man.
He was so bad that everyone except me was saying Ben Vandergood is going to have a breakout year because he was lighting it up in the offseason. And I'm like, dude, he's going up against third stringers.
Against third stringers, bro. Let me see you do it against first stringers.
So
it's why I've been against the whole argument of people talking about Sam Ehlinger. I love that that's a thing in Colts Twitter land now. Listen, folks, we're getting off tangent here, but I'll just do something real quick. Sam Ehlinger, for the life of me, will not be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts in 2022 or ever, unless their starting quarterback gets hurt. It's the only way Sam Ehlinger gets the start at all.
I'll be in prison because I will drive my car right up into the complex and be like, "What are you doing?"
Oh man! All right. Well, we had our little rant there. Let's move on here to the next point, and we'll talk about the defensive side of things real quick. And we'll talk about the pass rush because that was the one thing that we talked about on the defense the whole time was saying, this defensive line, it had its moments, but it was still so inconsistent in 2021. And I was amongst many, and Lawrence, you can tell me here in a second if you were the same way. I think that Ballard completely botched the Autry move. I thought that, even though Autry wasn't being like spectacular with Tennessee this last year, I still felt that he was, a semi good player. And I thought that, he led our team in sacks the year prior, other than Buckner. But I thought he was our best edge rusher. And I didn't think it was a great idea for Ballard to trade away all the veteran guys and just bring in two new guys. Regardless if you think they're the future or not, you still have an obligation to keep somebody there in the weights that knows what they're doing. And in my opinion, the pass rush did not get answered this offseason because, again, we think that they can potentially be the future. We think they can be. But as of this moment in time, the pass rush didn't get better. It got worse.
Did it get answered? No. I'm of that same opinion that the Colts pass rush was not up to par to what we need, especially when you're looking at a zone covered scheme, which is one of the reasons why the Colts midway through the season kind of went away from that zone and ended up going man, because of the pass rush just wasn't there. I'm still okay with the Autry and Houston being let go and not re-signed. Both guys were over 30. The Colts needed to get younger and faster at that position. The snaps, nothing helps a player more than experience. And the young guys weren't getting snaps and the experience because Autry and Houston were getting all the snaps. And to be fair, I think Autry had a heck of a season for the Titans. I think he might have been one of the top 10 best free agency signings of the NFL, the Titans signing him, because he really opened up that pass rush all the way around for that defense. It turned them from one of the worst defenses in the NFL to one of the better ones in the NFL from one year to the next. But the Colts needed to get younger and faster. And the only way to do that was to let the guys who were going to be getting the snaps anyhow, let them go so the young guys see what you got and get that. Now, did they live up to it? No. It's Kwity Paye's first season. Dio Dangbo didn't come in till like way late in the season.
Right.
Teray wasn't used enough. Teray's production for snap count this year was absolutely phenomenal, right? Being that he only got like 20% of the snaps, and I think he was second on the team in sacks. Or second or third. But he only got 20% of the snaps. And he played the majority of the year. I think he missed 2 or 3 games. So was it answered? No. Did they take a step to where I think they could be? Yes. They still need pieces. They still need to get that alpha edge rusher. I don't think Kwity Paye will be an alpha edge rusher. I think he'll be a beta. I think he's one of those guys that'll be, an 8 to 12 guy, 8 to 12 sack guy. But when you're thinking of alpha, you're thinking of 12 plus every year, generally. And I don't think Kwity is an alpha. I think Kwitty's very good against the run. I think he'll be a good piece for the future. Still need to find that guy though, and we'll see what happens this upcoming season.
Yep, definitely some questions still need to be answered for them. Let's go to another spot here on the defense, and that's the corner position. I think going into the offseason, a majority of Colts fans, I know Cody and I shared that same opinion, was that corner might be the one position that the Colts might need to address the most. Even with the bringing of Xavier Rhodes back, you still knew he was not going to be a long-term solution. And, you were pretty thin at the spot. I mean, Kenny Moore was the only reliable guy. And, this season, we were asking, is Rock going to improve? And is somebody in the background going to step up and finally be the guy, right? Well, I think we have two answers right there. And I know you and I, especially after, I don't know which game it was. I know you and I went on Twitter a lot over the last couple times, and we're saying that this little thing that we were seeing between Rock and Isaiah Rodgers and guys like that, like this wasn't a fluke. This is actually them looking like a duo at corner that could potentially keep going in the league. And I think from what I saw in 2021, I think that this might be the most improved spot on the roster, one of them, because you went from thinking that you might need to do an overhaul on this group to now saying you have confidence in saying that Rock and Isaiah Rodgers are showing you something that makes you believe and answers the question that these guys can be your corners going forward.
Rock Ya-Sin, his biggest issue was he was handsy and he was getting PIs. And he completely eliminated that this year. He was the most consistent cornerback on this team, and that's including a certain Kenny Moore, who made the Pro Bowl. Kenny started the season off awful. You go talk to anybody who watches tape. He started the season off awful. Kenny was consistent all through the year. Very, very good. Rodgers is a guy I think, give him another year or two, he's going to get good. He still has some things to improve. He still will he takes chances and bites on double moves. He's got the ability and the quickness to be able to make up for those, but there's been times where he just got burnt, especially earlier in the season, like against Seattle, right? But I think overall, yes, this might be the most improved position group, and I agree with you, of this entire Colts team, not just the defense, the entire Colts team. I love where they're going with this. I could see Kenny Moore, Rock Ya-Sin, Isaiah Rodgers, and of course Blackman and Willis being back there at the safety position. I like where our secondary is sitting at.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great part is they're all young too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the even better part, is the fact that everyone's under the age of 27 at the moment. So, it leaves you a lot of room and a lot of growth there too. And I think it's going to be great. Last question, and it was something that you brought up to me before we started this, and that was, does TY still have it? Now, I've been back and forth all season with this. I've been kind of going back and forth with it. It's like, I don't think he does, but at the same time, he makes a play or two that makes me think, he does still have it. I'm curious to know your thoughts, because obviously you watch more film than I do. I asked you this, I think, several weeks ago, about, was it more of TY's fault why he wasn't getting involved in the offense, or was it more of the scheme? I think you answered that question to me before, but I mean, what's your opinion? Is there an answer to that on if TY still has something left in him to provide for this Colts team?
Absolutely, he does. I have watched so much film over this past, week and a half since, that awful Week 18 game. TY is getting open, but he's so far down the progression chart. Carson Wentz has his number one guy that he looks at, and that is Pittman Jr., right? And then TY is generally somewhere opposite of the field, which means that progression chart goes way down the line. TY's not getting the looks, but he's still getting open. He's still making plays. He's still making catches. I think TY still has it. Do I want to pay him $10 million a year this upcoming season? Probably not. Yeah. But if he still wants to play and he'd give a reasonable asking price, $6 to $8 million bucks, I'd say, Sure, bring him back, especially with an off season where Carson Wentz can actually sit down and throw with him. Maybe that would be nice. Get that trust with him, because there were plays this year where Carson was finally able to see him because he had so much protection, or he extended a play like that deep crossing that went for 63 yards that we saw just a few weeks back. That's the kind of stuff Ty can still do it.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing, the 10 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he left, but he still has enough to definitely uh, give the Colts a little bit of extra boost where they need it. And quite frankly, that's all you ask for, especially his leadership in the locker room is just phenomenal still.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think just certain factors have to be put into play when it comes to T.Y. Hilton. And of course, we're going to find out here in a couple weeks whether or not him and Doyle are even going to return at all. So we'll see. We'll see what they decide. Both of them have kind of talked about over the span of this season how much of the game of football has taken a toll on their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope that, for their sake, they kind of take I hope they do some soul searching and understand and be at peace whatever decision they make. Because, Andrew Luck found out that one, and I hate to bring it up, but I mean, obviously, Andrew Luck found that out, but he found it out at a bad time, for everyone's sake.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hope that Ty and Jack can kind of understand, obviously they're going to talk with each other because they're best buddies. They're perfect teammates for each other.
Absolutely.
So obviously we'll find out here in a few weeks whether or not they're going to continue or not, at least before free agency starts. So that way Ballard can know what needs to be done with them going forward. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Is there any other questions that you thought we missed that I could have brought up in this? But I'm Derek Larger, my guy, Lawrence Owen, a.k.a. Colts Law. Guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to him on YouTube. I don't know what y'all are doing, okay? So you guys need to go subscribe to him. I'll have a link for his channel in the description. Thank you guys again so much for the continued support. And as always, go Colts.